Este es Ron con ncomputers.com. Otro video para ti hoy. Another video pertaining to hard drives. I made a recent video where you can clean the contacts on the circuit board that attaches to a mechanical hard drive and potentially, I wouldn't say permanently fix that drive, but at the very least, maybe temporarily enough to get your data off of it. And it could be a permanent fix, but you know what I'm saying? That's highly debatable. I have another drive on screen, as you can see, that has major problems. It's a 500 gigabyte. I think it's a Western Digital. It worked pretty good for a while. I had an operating system on it. Then it kicked the bucket. I could no longer use Derek's boot and nuke, where it's taken forever, only like 3% completed in like a week. We're talking thousands of hours of using Derek's boot and nuke. So I stopped that process, and then I slaved it into another drive, and I was able to perform a quick format. But I think the next time I tried to reboot that computer, an automatic check disk dialog popped up, and I ran it, and it seemed okay. But then I decided to run a check disk again once I did get the operating system booted. It's Vista business, don't care. Older versions of Windows are just fine. And as you can see on screen, there's major problems with this hard drive. It's a mechanical hard drive. Windows replaced bad clusters. And then replacing bad clusters in log file, adding 6,152 bad clusters to the bad clusters file, correcting errors in the master file table's data attribute, correcting errors in the master file table's bitmap attribute. What else? If you look down here, there's 24,616 kilobytes in bad sectors. So it found bad clusters and bad sectors. That's never a good thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this hard drive. Right now this operating system is running, and I ran check disk because this is a slave drive. So I'm going to kill. You notice how it was able to write? That's a good thing. It didn't make corrections to the file system. Sometimes with check disk, if a hard drive is damaged enough, or enough bad clusters or enough bad sectors, it won't be able to write to the file system. It won't even be able to write to the log file, and then it'll just kind of error out. So this is a good sign. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to clean the contacts. So I'm going to close this screen. It took, how many days did this run? I would say about three or 4 days. So this was a lengthy check disk. So I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to shut down this computer. And I'm just going to run command line shut down -S for stop, and click enter, and you'll get this dialog. And I'm just going to close this remote desktop. You'll get a blank screen, but then let me transition, and I will be right back. I have to wait for that computer to shut down. It's in another room, and then I'm going to have to pull the hard drive. So just give me a few minutes. You can hang out, check out my resources page on screen, and twiddle your thumbs, and maybe get a soda. It shouldn't be that long, but I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. That was bad advice. I don't recommend that you drink soda pop, but it's up to you. I don't bark out orders. I'm not the government and the military. I'm not Christianity or any other religion. I'm not your pastor that is a control freak. And they are authoritative positions. Yes, pastors and priests, they're authority figures for the world order. So I would have, cut the video, and I didn't feel like having to combine the files, even though it doesn't take that long with Linux. You don't have to run it through a converter. I've got 2 hard drives. I've got 2 500 gig hard drives. Let me transition now to my full screen so you'll be able to see this better. I've got 2 500 gig hard drives in that computer. This is a Hitachi Desktop. This is not the one that I ran the check disk, but I decided to pull it while I was back there because I just wanted to show you something. This got a circuit board. I'm gonna try the same thing, but I'm gonna run check disk before I try, reseating the circuit board. But I wanted to show you it's different. This one's got a little clip. It's got a little cable. So this one's designed a little bit different. This one is the one that I just showed you the statistics for running check disk. It has a lot of errors. It's got bad clusters, bad sectors. Now, bad sectors on a hard drive is sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's software. It just depends on the hard drive. I'm still going to try to clean the contacts because I think it's worth it, because that other hard drive that I just cleaned the contacts on, it's ran pretty well, except for overnight the internet connection ceased. My other computers were just fine, but that computer lost internet connection. I reseated the Ethernet cable. I had to restart the process I was running on that machine, and then it seems okay, but that's a little bit strange. So let me get my kit for my hexadecimal, and we'll get this removed. Here's my kit, and I just need to get the right bit. It's the smallest one. Oh, I'm getting dusty. Yeah, that computer's pretty dusty. Okay, so now we've got 4 screws we got to take off. If you have the right tools, these are star. They're known as star, but really technically they're hexadecimal. They're the shape of a star, but to technically correct, they're hexadecimal. And they're easy. They're easy to remove if you have the right tools. This is a hex bit. If you try to take these off with a standard Phillips, no. I don't see how. You'd have to apply so much pressure, so much torque, that most likely you'd strip the screws, or it would take forever. I wouldn't even fucking try it. But these are pretty easy. They are torqued at the factory. On laptops are a lot harder, maybe because they're smaller. But these desktop screws with the right torque bit are actually pretty easy. They don't require much. It's not like you have to really, apply a lot of pressure. You can tell that they're tight though. My internet still hasn't come up even though I booted. Oh, you know why? Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't need the internet right now anyways, but if I needed it, I wouldn't have it. But that's all good. I don't think I need to show anything on the web in the rest of this video. There goes one. We'll just loosen them and then they'll just fall off. We'll just do it that way. There goes that one. So it's only 4 screws. I have not opened up this I'm not opening up the hard drive. We're not fucking with the platters or heads or anything, or the arm or anything like that. Now we must be concerned with this circuit board, although I don't think it'll be in the way. there's these little plastic tabs on right there. I noticed that. There and there. So we must be a little bit cut. Oh, it comes right off. Oh, okay, so it's all assembled into one. That's pretty easy. So there, and I always hold these by the edges. I try to. Now there's a little bit of foam, so it's looking pretty old, but we won't fuck with that. We're gonna match the contacts, which is usually pretty easy. All you have to do is line it up over the screw holes, and then just look somewhere underneath here, somewhere underneath there. So that right there are the contacts, and then right here. I've seen these before. Not all hard drives are the same. And then when you flip upside down, you're gonna look, and it should be there and somewhere there. So we flip it upside, look to the right, and contacts there, contacts there. You notice how they're different? These are just soldered onto the circuit board, but I think even with the naked eye, definitely I can tell. Everything, all the contacts, these are silver. Even the screw holes, the holes for the mounting the circuit board, it's discolored. It's hazy. It's brownish. Even that one. Now these are the other contacts, but you notice how they're different? They're kind of angled because they kind of snap. Well, they don't snap in to holes, but they're just different type of contacts. So we're going to clean those and those. And I'm also going to clean the contacts for the SATA cables. The SATA power are always wider, and the SATA data connector contact is the skinnier one. That doesn't matter much, but since I'm cleaning, I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to get my eraser, and it shouldn't take that long. And I will tell you, I really can't demonstrate it because hard drives are just finicky. But what I can do is I can show you some of the symptoms, and then I can show you. My internet's still down because I have to press a key on that computer, which I was in a hurry. I didn't want to make people wait too long. I showed you some of the symptoms. I showed you the check disk scan results. That to me is enough to demonstrate that there's something wrong with that hard drive. Now, like I said before, having bad clusters and bad sectors are kind of similar geek talk. They refer to the blocks on the actual hard drive. Now, sometimes it's because of hardware failure. Sometimes it's software problems. Even if you cut the power on a computer, let's say instead of shutting down Windows gracefully, which you never want to do, you just pull out the power cable, or you just hit the power button, or maybe the power goes out. That can cause damage to the hard drive. It can actually cause physical damage, and those clusters and sectors are damaged. But programs like Check Disk and there's another program, what they'll do is that they will mark those sectors as bad, and then it will try to retrieve any data off of that and move it to a good sector or a good cluster. It turns into a cluster fuck. So we're going to clean contacts. I would recommend that you use 99% isopropyl alcohol. I don't have any right now. I'm going to use an eraser because I've used this technique for years. And I will prove to you on camera that, look at the discoloration right there. Look at the discoloration. Even on this side. But we're only worried about this side. But I'm showing you that all across the circuit board that there's discoloration. That can come from heat, grime, oxidization. You know, these components get old. Look at the foam. Even the foam is discolored. So we're going to clean these contacts here. Just scrub, rub, rub. Scrub, scrub, rub. See, I already removed some of the discoloration. And I haven't even been rubbing that hard and that long. So we're just going to rub left to right, right to left, up and down, circular, however you want to do it. You want to rub, you want to put some pressure, but you don't have to, like, you know, it's not like a torque wrench. And look at the difference. The one on the left is the one I just cleaned. Now look at the compared to the one on the right. You should be able to tell. I can tell. The contact closest to the foam I did not clean. With the naked eye I can tell already that it's shiny. So I'm going to do it, shine this one up. You can, you know, go in a circle or go left to right and then up and down, however you want to do it. And I already notice a big difference. Now look at the contacts compared to this mounting hole with solder. It's like night and day already. That's once. I'm going to clean these. These are a little bit different. I think the contacts are actually the gold tips. So these are a little bit different, but I'm going to still try to clean them anyways. And I'll just clean the entire contact, even though it doesn't contact the lower part. On camera it might be difficult to tell what these look like. They're really weird. But it's the tips that actually contact the circuit board. I don't know why they design it this way. I just don't know, physics I guess, or I don't know, maybe it doesn't cost that much to make contacts like this. This is where, in my opinion, isopropyl rubbing alcohol, I don't like the term rubbing alcohol because it's actually isopropyl alcohol, 99%. There are technical terms for a reason. Not some of it could be narcissism and big egos. You know, even the medical industry, medical doctors like to throw around large medical terms. Well, and then it confuses their patients. That might be because of their egos and their narcissism. I'm not a fan of allopathic doctors. I don't go to allopathic doctors. But anyways, but there are technical computer terms, and you should learn how to use them because they have meanings. Society to me is too dumbed down. We're all of us, including myself, we're getting stupider every decade. Every generation we're getting dumber. And I don't think that is a productive way of running a society. That to me is by design. So here's the other contacts. These are flat. You notice how they're the same type of contact as over here, only these don't, the circuit board does not cut. I'll show it to you again. You notice how these are the same contacts, but the circuit board doesn't touch those. But with these different types with the little pins on top, it snaps down, and the little pins line up right there where you might be able to see there's a small little indentation. It kind of looks like a dent. There's a tiny little, I would say, pencil-sized or ballpoint pen, if even smaller than that, little tiny indentation. That's where these little tabs hit. They set right there. So we're just going to clean these contacts. I'm not worried about those because we don't need to worry about those. There's no reason to clean them unless you're a clean freak, or I don't know, you can if you want, but it doesn't really do any good because there's no tipped contacts that sit on top of those. Although those have two indentions and these just have one, but they are pretty much the same kind of soldered contacts between the circuits. So these I kind of like to clean in a circle, and then back and forth, up and down, whatever. And that's the first time. Now these are tipped contacts. They are metal. If you look at them close enough, it's silver, and there are tips. I'm going to clean them. Even though they're really not, you know, shiny, they're a little bit different type, but I'm still going to clean them. Just the top of them. Because it sets on top of the other contacts. And so even though they don't look like much, I always clean them. Whatever connects to, you know, circuit board to circuit board, pin to pin, I clean. Now we've done it once, and that you shouldn't probably blow with your mouth, because your mouth has obvious liquid. It's got water vapor. We're going to do it again. I usually do it twice. You could do it 3 times, but usually I just do them twice. And we can start with these again. I'm trying to, how about like that? We'll just clean these contacts again. Yeah, to me, these type, I think it would be better if you used isopropyl alcohol. But that's just my opinion. A rubber, it's just kind of awkward cleaning these little pin typed contacts with the rubber eraser. But I do it anyways. Now these flat contacts that are soldered right onto the circuit board, yes, an eraser works excellent. You can also use this with RAM. That's old school. I don't know about newer random access memory, but back in the day it was recommended that if you started to notice weird memory errors, or just the computer, as far as the memory started to act weird, you would take out the random access memory, clean the gold or silver contacts, and also clean the gold or silver contacts on the motherboard, and sometimes that would resolve issues. But with newer memory, I'm not sure. I haven't really heard that tip out there in the lexicon, you know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't, you know, there's so many shills on YouTube. The big tech channels on YouTube, they would label a person like me a conspiracy theorist just because I'm trying something outside of a box. They don't think outside of a box. The shills don't. They don't give a fuck. They're really, in my opinion, they're really not that intelligent. They're not superior because they're not willing to think outside of a box. They're not willing to think down and think about physics. Oh, well, does this make logical sense? Oh, let's clean the contacts. Oh, there's oxidization. Oh, let's take some isopropyl alcohol. No, they don't. They just call you a kook or a conspiracy theorist or a nut job or an idiot or a moron. I think we've cleaned it well enough. I like to do a good, you know, proper job, because having to take the hard drive out, take the circuit board off, shut down my little server, you know what I'm saying? It takes time. Now, to me, it's obvious that I just want to get rid of any big pieces of rubber from the eraser. To me, it's if you go back at the beginning of this video, when I first showed you this circuit board, look at these contacts. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 contacts in each row. There's 2 rows, 20 total contacts. They're soldered directly onto the circuit board. Those are circuits that, you know, go somewhere, wherever. And look at how clean they are. Look at how shiny they are compared to at the beginning of this video. Look at them compared to one of the holes for the screws, the retaining screws. Look at the discoloration on that. But look at now the contacts. To me, it's obvious, at least by the naked eye, that they are a lot shinier and a lot cleaner. Now I've done those a second time. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? This is what I normally do. Now we're going to clean these again. I don't have to worry about the 4 up here, just the 4 down here. and we're gonna rub. I think I'm gonna rub harder this time. Now, sometimes the gold contacts are hard to tell, if you can tell at all, if they're discolored. Whereas the silver, it's obvious. The silver, you can tell there's discoloration from heat or grime or dust or just oxidization in physics. Whereas gold, it blends in, but I still clean just as rigorous, because that's kind of a false positive. I don't even know if you can tell the difference with gold contacts. The naked eye, I can't really tell if this is shinier than those up there. Now, these are the pin types, which are kind of awkward to clean with a rubber eraser. I just usually go left to right with these, and I apply some pressure. The problem with these is that you get, this eraser is kind of old, so you get these little pieces of rubber that fall. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of gently, now you don't want to slam a hard drive, but I'm just trying to gently get rid of some of the rubber out of there. And I might even take, what can I use? I might even take, like, I don't know, I don't want to blow with my mouth because of the vapor out of my mouth. But I would recommend that I wouldn't use a vacuum cleaner, but there's actually a computer vacuum cleaner that I think they still sell it. It has a vacuum, believe it or not. It's all legit. They tested it. It's legit. It's got a blower and it has actually a vacuum. So what you do is you blow air and then you've got the vacuum nozzle, and it'll suck up any dust while at the same time that it blows the dust free. You can get canned air. Canned air to me is a waste of money because there's really not, it doesn't blow much air. It's just, you can use an air compressor, but you need to be careful. When you use an air compressor, especially with laptop components and also desktop, it can damage the components because an air compressor can put out a lot of air, but there's different nozzles. You could probably look up online and find a nozzle that doesn't, that what the nozzle will do is it will not allow as much air through the nozzle, therefore it would be good for computer components, so that you can blow out some of this rubber. I can even take the rubber and just try to get it. I don't want to use my fingers because of the natural oils, but you know, so definitely I would clean that up. Isopropyl alcohol evaporates pretty quickly, but I don't know, you might not want to put the hard drive in right away after using isopropyl alcohol. I would not recommend that you ever use liquid cleaners. I would not use liquid cleaners ever with computer components. Isopropyl alcohol, it evaporates so quickly, and it's 99%. But still, I would wait a little bit when you use that stuff. I would research it. Don't believe me, go out and study. So this is pretty good, although, you know, me, I try to get every little bit out. But this is sufficient enough for this demonstration. And then, so we're done. And the circuit board, now I'm going to find, in summation here, I'm going to clean these contacts. They don't make much of a difference. In my opinion, they don't. I could study it again. I haven't really read that many articles claiming that, oh, you just clean the gold, or they're generally gold. The gold contacts for the SATA cable, the power cable and the data cable, and oh, you know, those weird errors with your hard drive will clear up. No. But since we're cleaning contacts, I'm going to do it anyways. These are gold, so I don't really see much difference when I clean them. I just try to rub pretty, you know, hard. I just press down, and I just try to rub in a circle sometimes, back and forth, up and down, whatever. And I do it a couple of times. And there we go. So now we just place the circuit board back, just line it up. To me, the easiest way to know how to put back the circuit board that you take off of a hard drive is look for the SATA contacts. They will be facing up. When you take the hard drive and you look at the label and you face it down, then you take the circuit board off, and what you'll notice is that the contacts for the SATA power cable and the data cable are right side up, and you can see them. That's the quickest, fastest way to know how to, put the circuit board back down, and then line up the screws. And then this one is a little bit different. If you notice, there's these little rubber posts that the circuit board, this one's not rubber, this one's actually metal. These are two metal, my bad. And they go right over them. And then there's another one here. That one's metal too, I think. Right inside the contacts. Interesting. Not all of them are like this. Line up the screws, and then I don't tighten the screws yet because I've noticed these circuit boards move around, and if you tighten the first screw, then you may not be able to tighten the other screws because they won't be aligned properly, and you're just fucking wasting time. I just turn them tight I just take 1 or 2 turns here. 1, 2, 1.5, 2, whatever. I just start them, and then I wait until I have them all in place before I start tightening them down. 1, 2, whatever. This isn't fucking rocket science. Now, I'm not saying this is a permanent fix, but it may or may not be. Just because I ran check disk and it found bad sectors and bad clusters does not mean that there is not a problem physically with the hard drive. There could be a problem physically with this hard drive, but I figure it's worth a shot, and I wanted to demonstrate to you in this video some of the symptoms that you'll notice. Running a check disk, you'll notice certain symptoms. So just tighten it. Now I start tightening them. You don't have to tighten them too. Just make sure they're tight. You might have to tighten them again. Just go try it again. You don't have to apply that much pressure. You're not an automobile mechanic where you need to worry about torque. Now, I don't know, these could have been torqued at the factory, but when it comes to computer components, me personally, I don't really worry about torque, but whatever. In physics with automobiles, certain parts of the engine, to me it makes sense with physics that you need to be concerned with torque. There we go, that's it. It's not rocket science. You just take off the circuit board, you find out where the contacts are on the hard drive and on the circuit board, and then you clean that area. You make sure you get the right contacts, and then you make sure if you're using a rubber pencil that you try to blow out the little, if you're using an older eraser like this one, blow out the little rubber pieces of rubber that fall off, and that's it. And then you just place it back on. And now I can't really demonstrate the rest of this because I just don't know what's going to happen. I can't predict the future. I'm not Nostradamus. I'm not the world order. I'm not these experts on fucking YouTube that, claim that you're a nut job if you try to think outside of a box and you try to study physics and you try to then incorporate that into computers. Well, the last time I checked, computers are based upon physics. We shall see. Maybe I will report down the road. I'm going to try to monitor it. I don't think I'm going to run a check disk again because the last time took so long. But what I'm going to do, I already went, go back and listen to the symptoms I told you about with this hard drive. Number 1, it had an operating system. Number 2, it no longer functioned. Number 3, I pulled the hard drive. Number 4, I ran Derek's Boot and Nuke, and Derek's Boot and Nuke took forever. It took like a week to only run 3%. And number 5, I stopped that. Number 6, I slaved it, and then well, it's technically not slaving anymore. I installed it into another computer. I ran a quick format. It seemed fine. What am I? Number 7. The next time I rebooted that computer, an automatic check disk came on for this drive. Number 8, I ran a full check disk once I booted into Windows Vista Business. Number 9, I told you the results. I'm not going to go over the results again. Go watch the beginning of this video where I showed you on screen the results of the check disk, claiming that there were bad clusters and bad sectors. But that's not always indicative of a failing hard drive, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just software. But I'm going to try cleaning the contacts, like I did with this other hard drive that seems okay, except for overnight it lost its network connection. But that could be because maybe it really is a failing hard drive. We shall see. And in the future, I'm going to look for other tools besides Derek Boot and Nuke. There is a tool out there on a Heron CD that will scan for bad sectors. It will mark the bad sectors as bad. It's similar to CheckDisk, but it's not. CheckDisk will mark bad sectors, and it will try to move the data from that sector to a good sector, if it can. This tool doesn't move data. It marks bad sectors so that when you do use programs like Derek Boot and Nuke, or you might not be able to wipe it, though. I need to look into that. I think you run this tool, and then it marks the sectors bad, and then I think when you do install Windows will know that there are bad sectors, and it will not install files on those bad sectors. But some of those tools are really old. Although I have nothing bad to say about Derek's Boot and Nuke because I've used it for like at least a decade now. It's an older tool, but it still works on these SATA drives. So unless I find something better, I've looked for other tools, but a lot of them you have to pay a lot of money. Are they really worth paying money for? Alright, I've talked enough. So this is my second video showing you how to clean the connections on the circuit boards on hard drives, and hopefully it'll clear up some of these problems. It may or may not. We shall see. Adios!